Yo, it's Max. Like you, I've had it with the feeling that we're constantly being deceived somewhere, especially when it comes to our own bodies. You wake up in the morning, the alarm is blaring, and your head feels like it's made of iron. You slept the recommended 8 hours, as all the smart books say, but you feel like you've unloaded freight cars all night. You head to the kitchen, choke down a super healthy breakfast, wash it all down with a detox smoothie, and pop a handful of vitamins because that's what the ads say. But by lunch, you still feel like a squeezed lemon. We live in an era of total health hype, where every other Instagram blogger is a nutritionist, and every corporation wants to peddle us their latest magic pill. So today, we're taking a scalpel and opening up this pustule of myths, marketing, and outright nonsense. It's going to hurt, it'll be cynical, and maybe after this video, you'll look at your medicine cabinet and refrigerator with buckle up. We're beginning the operation to remove the noodles from your ears. So, myth number 1, the most important, almost sacred. You need to sleep exactly 8 hours.
We've been drilled with this since childhood. It's like the Our Father for anyone who wants to be productive. But here's the truth. That number is just an average, like the average temperature in a hospital. It's like saying that every person fits into size 42 shoes. In reality, the need for sleep is incredibly individual. It's written into your genes. There are short sleepers who can get by on just 6 hours and feel great. And there are those who need at least 9. Moreover, historically, people actually slept in 2 phases. They went to bed at sunset, woke up in the middle of the night for a couple of hours to, read by candlelight, ponder the eternal, or make another child, and then went back to sleep until dawn. This is called biphasic sleep. So when you wake up at 3 in the morning and can't fall back asleep, it's not insomnia. Maybe your inner medieval peasant has woken up and is wondering why everyone else is still snoozing. The quality of sleep is far more important than its quantity. You can sleep for 8 hours, but toss and turn the whole time and wake up feeling terrible. Or you can have 6 hours of deep quality sleep and be ready to move mountains. Fact number 2, which is going to give all the Insta-gurus a nervous tick. Detox. Those juices, smoothies, miracle teas for cleansing the body of waste and toxins, that's pure nonsense, excuse me. The very idea that our body is some clogged siphon in the sink that needs to be cleared out with green sludge for 500 rubles a bottle is just brilliant marketing. We already have a built-in, powerful, and most importantly, free detox system. Meet your liver and kidneys. These guys work 24/7 without weekends or holidays, filtering everything you put into your body. They eliminate waste products, neutralize toxins, and do it much more effectively than any cucumber celery juice. When you drink a detox cocktail, you are just overloading your liver with a huge dose of fructose, that is, sugar, while forcing your kidneys to work overtime to flush out the excess liquid. The term toxins has no scientific meaning. It was invented by marketers to sell you fear. Your body is a self-cleaning system. Just don't interfere with it. Drink enough plain water and don't overload your liver with alcohol and fast food. That's it. Detox achieved. The third disillusionment strikes at the holy grail: vitamins. Remember those sour yellow ascorbic acid candies from childhood? It seemed like eating one made you immune to all the diseases in the world. Today, pharmacy shelves are overflowing with colorful bottles of multivitamins that promise us energy, immunity, beautiful. Sounds great, but in reality, for most people who eat reasonably well, it's just a way to make their urine the most expensive in the world. Seriously. The body is not a warehouse. It does not store water-soluble vitamins,
such as vitamin C and the B vitamins, in advance. It takes exactly what it needs at the moment. Moreover, an overdose of certain fat-soluble vitamins, such as A and D, can be toxic and lead to serious health problems. Multivitamins may be needed in specific, but taking them just for prevention is like pouring gasoline into a full tank. There's no benefit, but you could spill and catch fire. The best source of vitamins is a diverse and balanced diet. A plate of vegetables, fruits, and meat will always beat any plastic bottle. Let's move on. The fourth myth that has been pushed on us for decades is, drink 8 glasses or 2 liters of water a day. This mantra is heard everywhere. But if you dig into where this figure came from, the trail leads back to recommendations from the American Nutrition Council back in 1945. It was stated in that same recommendation that most of this norm comes from food. But that part was, conveniently forgotten. In reality, there is no matter. Your need for water depends on a multitude of factors: your weight, age, activity level, and the climate you live in. A person sitting in an office under an air conditioner obviously needs a different amount of fluid than a steel worker. Moreover, we get water not only from a bottle. Soup, tea, coffee, cucumbers, watermelons, all of this is water. Our body has a perfect, built-in, and absolutely free dehydration. There are exceptions, such as for elderly people whose sense of thirst may dull. But for most of us, the rule is simple. If you're thirsty, drink. If you're not, don't force yourself. The 5th item on our hit list: breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Oh, how much oatmeal has been eaten under this slogan. How many times did mothers and grandmothers make us eat in the morning to have energy for the whole day? This idea has become so ingrained in our culture that it seems unassailable. And now, attention, focus. One of the main promoters of this idea was John Harvey Kellogg. Yes, Can you imagine what a brilliant marketing move that was? To create not just a product, but an entire ritual, convincing millions of people that without your cereal, their day would be a wash. Modern studies show that it's not when you eat that matters, but what and how much you eat throughout the day. There is no scientific evidence that skipping breakfast. Moreover, eating systems like intermittent fasting, which are currently wildly popular, are built precisely on skipping the morning meal. For some, a hearty breakfast means energy. For others, it means a heaviness in the stomach and drowsiness. Listen to your body, not the marketers of a century ago. If you wake up hungry, eat. If not, have a coffee and calmly wait until lunch. Nothing terrible will happen. Myth number 6 is short but very. Brown sugar is healthier than white sugar. Walk into any supermarket, into the section for health food enthusiasts. You will see beautiful packages of cane sugar, unrefined sugar, demerara, muscovado, and it creates the illusion that you are buying something, well, more natural and healthier. Now here's the revelation that will save you a bunch of money. Brown sugar is 95% the same as white sugar, sucrose. It just has a bit of molasses left in it, or added back. That's what gives it color and a slight caramel flavor. But to get any noticeable benefit from brown sugar, you would have to eat a kilogram of it. By that time, you would likely develop diabetes, and all those micrograms of iron won't save you. For your body, for your pancreas, and for your waistline, there is absolutely no difference between a spoonful of white sugar and a spoonful of brown sugar. It's just sugar. The only difference is in color, flavor, and your wallet. The 7th point. Oh, this is going to hurt. Organic products are much healthier than regular ones. You see those shelves in stores? Fruits and vegetables without chemicals, and the price on them is such that it's as if they were grown by elves under the moonlight.
We pay more because we believe it's cleaner, safer, and more nutritious. But here's what science says. Dozens of large studies comparing the composition of organic and conventional products have found no significant difference in their vitamin and mineral content. Yes, organic products may have slightly higher levels of some antioxidants, while conventional ones may have slightly more pesticide residues. However, the amount of these pesticides in store-bought products is generally negligible and strictly regulated. Moreover, the term organic does not mean pesticide-free. It means free from synthetic pesticides. Farmers use natural pesticides, which can also be toxic. Essentially, organic is a certification of farming methods, not a guarantee of super healthiness. It is more of a worldview and environmental choice rather than necessarily a medical one. The eighth myth, straight from the 90s. Microwaves are a scourge of hell that irradiates food, destroys all its benefits, and causes cancer. I still meet people who are afraid to stand next to a working microwave, as if it were a little Chernobyl in the kitchen. Let's clarify. Microwaves are electromagnetic radiation, like light or radio waves. They are non-ionizing, meaning they lack the energy to knock electrons out of atoms and damage They do not make food radioactive. All they do is make water molecules in food vibrate very quickly, causing them to rub against each other. This friction generates heat. It's like rubbing your hands together very fast. They warm up. That's the whole principle. As for the destruction of nutrients, any form of heat treatment destroys them, whether it's boiling, frying, or baking. Here's a surprise. Since food cooks very quickly in a microwave, it often retains more vitamins, particularly water-soluble ones like vitamin C, than when boiled for a long time in water, where these vitamins simply leach out. So the microwave is the ninth misconception, which can be seen in any gym. You need to stretch well before working out. You know, those static stretches? You put your leg on a Swedish wall and just stand there for a minute, stretching the back of your thigh. It's believed that this prepares the muscles for exertion and prevents injuries. However, numerous studies have shown that static stretching of cold, unwarmed muscles not only does not reduce the risk of injury, moreover, it temporarily decreases muscle strength. Imagine your muscle as an elastic band. If you take a cold rubber band and try to stretch it hard, it might just snap. But if you warm it up a little in your hands first, it becomes more pliable. The same goes for muscles. Before strength training or cardio, it's much more effective to do dynamic warm-ups. Joint exercises, rotations, swings, or This raises body temperature, improves blood circulation in the muscles, and prepares them for work. Static stretching is better saved for the end of a workout, when the muscles are already warmed up and elastic. Then, it can truly help improve flexibility and speed up recovery. And closing out our top 10 is the eternal nighttime nightmare for those trying to lose weight. You can't eat after 6 in the evening. This rule seems carved in stone. If you eat something after the sacred hour, that's it. Your carriage turns into a pumpkin, and an apple turns into fat on your sides. It sounds logical, after all, since we don't move at night, and the body supposedly just stores everything you've eaten. But fortunately, our body is not that primitive and doesn't live by the clock. A calorie consumed at 10 in the morning is no different from a calorie consumed at 10 in the evening. If you expend 2,000 calories in a day and consume 1,800, you will lose weight, even if your last meal was at midnight. So where did this myth come from? It's quite simple. For many, evening meals involve uncontrolled snacking on chips, cookies, or ice cream in front of the TV. This is high-calorie food that is easy to overeat. By forbidding themselves to eat after 6, people are simply cutting out that extra calorie layer, and naturally, they start to lose weight. But the reason lies not in the time, but in the reduction of overall caloric intake. So if you stay within your daily norm, eating cottage cheese or chicken breast before bed is absolutely fine and will not harm your figure. We've uncovered the first 10 boils, but there are still plenty more beneath the surface. Get ready, we're about to dig deeper into the world of fitness misconceptions and kitchen myths. The 11th exhibit in our Museum of Lies, straight from the gym. To get abs, you need to do 1,000 crunches a day. We've all seen it. A guy or a girl with the persistence of a maniac doing crunches. Well, it doesn't work that way at all. There's no such thing as spot reduction of fat. Your body isn't a Lego set where you can remove a piece from a specific spot. It's a unified system. When you're in a calorie deficit, your body decides for itself where to draw energy from, which means fat. And usually, the belly and sides are the last places it takes from. That's just our genetic code. Doing crunches does strengthen your abdominal muscles, which is good. But if those muscles are covered with a layer of fat, no one will ever see them. It's like doing an expensive renovation in an apartment, but not removing the old, ugly covers from all the furniture. Abs are mainly made in the kitchen, through proper nutrition and an overall calorie deficit, and only then fine-tuned in the gym. Myth number 12. A favorite mantra of old-school bodybuilders: no pain, no gain. If your muscles don't hurt the next day after a workout, to the point where this pain, scientifically referred to as delayed onset muscle soreness, or simply soreness, has long been considered the main sign of an effective workout. But in reality, it's just a sign that your muscles have been subjected to an unfamiliar load and have sustained micro-injuries. Muscle growth, or hypertrophy, is a much more complex process than just torn and recovered. Severe pain often indicates not growth, but that you've overdone it, which can lead to experienced athletes who train regularly rarely experience significant soreness, yet their muscles grow excellently. The main indicator of progress. The 13th point is a whole religion. Gluten is evil. Bread is poison. Everyone go gluten-free! Supermarkets are flooded with products labeled gluten-free, which cost as much as an airplane wing, and people buy them. Now, the truth. Gluten, or gliadin, is just a protein found in certain grains like wheat, rye, and barley. It is completely Yes, there is 1% of the population with a serious autoimmune condition, celiac disease. For them, gluten is indeed dangerous. There's also a small percentage of people with non-celiac gluten sensitivity. But for everyone else, giving up gluten brings absolutely no benefits. Often, people switching to a gluten-free diet do lose weight, but not because they've eliminated gluten. It's because they automatically cut out pizza, pastries, cakes, dumplings, replace them with gluten-free alternatives, which are often even more caloric due to added fats and sugars, and the weight will come back. This is just marketing built on The 14th myth is sweet and sticky. Honey, agave syrup, or maple syrup is a healthy alternative to sugar. Well, it's natural, from nature, and not some kind of chemistry. Sounds logical, but this logic doesn't work for your pancreas and liver. Let's look at the composition. Regular sugar, sucrose, consists of two molecules, glucose and fructose. Honey? It's also glucose and fructose, just not bonded together, plus a little water. Agave syrup? It contains up to 90% fructose, which places a huge burden on the liver. Yes, honey has trace amounts of vitamins and antioxidants, but there's so little of them that to get any benefit, you'd have to consume an entire jar, which would definitely lead you to health problems. Essentially, for the body, all these natural syrups are just the same as sugar, only with a different taste and cooler marketing. They raise blood glucose levels the same way and contribute to weight gain. The only difference is the price and your self-deception. This has been drilled into our heads by every mother and grandmother. Put on a hat, don't sit on something cold, or you'll catch a cold. The connection between cold and catching a cold seems obvious to us, like 2 plus 2. But that's complete nonsense. Colds and flu are caused not by low temperatures, but by viruses. To get sick, you could stand outside in the cold without any clothes. If there are no viruses around, you won't fall ill. You might suffer from hypothermia or frostbite, but not from a cold. So where did this connection come from? It's simple. First, during cold weather, we spend more time in enclosed, poorly ventilated spaces, in offices and public transport. These are ideal conditions for the transmission of viruses from person to person. Second, cold and dry air can dry out the mucous membranes in the nose, making them more vulnerable. And third, hypothermia itself can temporarily weaken the immune system. So if a virus has already entered your body, it will find it easier to multiply. But cold by itself is not the cause of illness. The cause is always a virus. Myth number 16, my favorite, comes: we only use 10% of our brain. Oh, how many films have been made on this topic? Like, if we unlock the other 90%, we'll become superhumans, able to move objects with our minds. It sounds exciting, but has no relation to reality. This myth is a complete fabrication. Modern scanning techniques like magnetic resonance imaging show that even the simplest activity engages almost the entire brain. Even when you're just sleeping, your brain is actively working. There are no inactive or unused areas in it. Each part has its function. This idea is similar to the thought that we only use 10% of our computer. Yes, you don't run all the programs at once, but system processes, antivirus, network connections. Our brain is the result of millions of years of evolution, and evolution is extremely frugal. It would never let us carry such a large and energy-consuming organ in our skull if it were sitting idle 90% of the time. The 17th item on our countdown? To lose weight, you need to eat low-fat products. This myth spawned a whole industry in the 80s and 90s. Store shelves were filled with low-fat yogurts, cottage cheese, cheeses, and cookies. People believed that fat was absolute evil, and if they removed it from their diets, the fat around their sides would disappear too. But it turned out to be exactly the opposite. When manufacturers remove fat from a product, it becomes tasteless, like cardboard. To fix this, they add tons of sugar, starch, and flavor enhancers. As a result, a low-fat yogurt with fruit filling can contain more sugar than a can of cola. People ate these diet products and gained even more weight. In reality, fats are essential for our bodies. They play a role in hormone production, in the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, and they are necessary for brain and skin health. Of course, the type of fats is important. Trans fats from margarine are bad. However, unsaturated fats from avocados, nuts, olive oil, and fish are super healthy and necessary. The demonization of fat was one of the biggest mistakes in 20th century dietetics. 18th. Cracking your knuckles is harmful. It will lead to arthritis. Well, admit it. You were scared of this too when you were a child, right? You sit there cracking your knuckles, and someone nearby will inevitably say, "Stop it! Your joints will hurt when you're older." The most famous experiment on this topic was conducted by Dr. Donald Unger. For 60 years, he cracked the joints of his left hand every day while leaving his right hand untouched. In the end, when he got older, the condition of the joints in both hands was absolutely the same, and no arthritis developed. He even received an Ig Nobel Prize for this experiment. So, what is that sound? When you stretch a joint, the volume of the joint capsule increases, the pressure within it drops, and gases dissolved in the synovial fluid, mainly carbon dioxide, form a bubble. That pop of the bubble is what you hear. After a while, the gas dissolves again, and you can crack your knuckles once more. This is generally harmless, although it can certainly annoy those around. Spending hours walking on a treadmill or pedaling an exercise bike. This method is called the fat burning zone. The idea is that at low intensity, the body primarily uses fats as fuel rather than carbohydrates. And this is fairly true. But there is one big nuance. Yes, in relative terms, you burn more fat. But the total number of calories burned during an hour of such training will be quite low. In contrast, high-intensity training, such as interval running or strength training, will burn many more calories in the same amount of time. And while the percentage of fat burned may be lower at that moment, you will burn more calories in absolute terms, including those from fat. Moreover, strength training builds muscle, and muscle is a metabolically active tissue. The more muscle you have, the more calories your body burns at rest, 24 hours a day. So, for long-term weight loss, a combination of strength and cardio is much more effective than just spending hours on the treadmill. And 20th, the milk myth. Drink milk to keep your bones strong. Since childhood, we've been told that milk is the main source of calcium, without which our bones would turn to dust. Milk certainly contains calcium, but here's the paradox. Countries with the highest dairy consumption, such as the USA and Scandinavian countries, also have the highest rates of osteoporosis and bone fractures. Meanwhile, in Asian countries, where milk is almost not consumed, bone health is much better. How come? The fact is that calcium absorption is a complex process. It not only requires calcium itself, but also vitamin D, vitamin K2, and magnesium. Moreover, a diet high in animal protein, which is present in milk, can lead to acidification of the body. And to neutralize this acid, the body leaches calcium from the bones. As a result, you may be getting a lot of calcium from milk, but much of it will pass through you or even work against you. There are plenty of other, more effective, so it's definitely not worth fixating on milk as the sole salvation for bones. We finished with the warm-up. Now, let's move on to the heavy lifting. Now we'll tackle the myths that have become so entrenched in our culture that they are almost axioms. Get ready, you may need to reevaluate your views on everything from going to the sauna to shaving. The 21st point on our list of debunkings is the idea that toxins are released from the body through sweat. Oh, this holy belief in the cleansing power of sweat. Guys in the bath who steam until blue. Fitness girls who take photos of their wet shirts after a workout with the caption, "Sweat out all the toxins." It sounds nice, but it's complete nonsense. Your sweat is made up of 99% water. The remaining 1% is primarily salt, sodium chloride, and tiny, just microscopic amounts of other substances like urea and potassium. Its main function is thermoregulation. Sweat evaporates from the skin's surface and cools your body to prevent overheating. That's it. The elimination of real toxins and waste products in your body is handled by the same guys, the liver and kidneys. They are your true detoxification system. So when you're sitting in a sauna, you're not detoxifying, you're just becoming dehydrated. There are certainly benefits to the sauna: muscle relaxation, improved circulation, 5 to 6 times a day. Allegedly, each meal is like throwing some wood into the fire of your metabolism, and it will burn brighter and burn more fat. This theory sounds so logical that millions believed it, but science has demolished it. There is a concept called the thermic effect of food. This is the energy the body expends on digestion. And here's the key point. This effect doesn't give a damn whether you consumed your 2,000 calories in 3 meals or 6. If you ate 600 calories in one sitting, the body will spend 60 calories to digest it. But if you ate 2 meals of 300 calories, then it will spend 30 calories twice. In total, your metabolism does not speed up from the frequency of meals. For weight loss, only the overall daily calorie deficit matters. Some people prefer to eat 3 times a day, others 6. It's a matter of personal comfort and habit, not metabolic magic. Let's move on to aesthetics. Point 23. If you shave hair, it will grow back thicker, darker, and coarser. This fear haunts every teenager who takes a razor for the first time. Girls are afraid to shave their legs. Boys fear the first fuzz above their lips. It feels as if a coarse, wire-like stubble replaces a fine hair after shaving. But this is purely an optical illusion. Your hair is naturally shaped like a cone or spear. It is thicker at the base and tapers to a point. When you shave it, you cut it at the root, at its thickest point. As a result, when it starts to grow back, its blunt, wide cut appears on the surface. Naturally, it feels coarser to the touch and looks darker visually. But the very structure of the hair, its thickness and color, is determined by the hair follicle, which sits deep in the skin. The razor, it cannot change your genetics. After a while, the tip of the hair wears down due to friction against clothing, and it becomes just like it was. So shave freely, you won't turn into the Hulk. Point 24. A misconception born in the health food aisles. Fresh vegetables and fruits are all. We tend to think that fresh is synonymous with healthy. There's a beautiful, shiny pepper sitting on the shelf, while next to it, in the fridge, is a dreary bag of frozen slices. The choice seems obvious, right? Not so. Often, frozen vegetables and fruits contain more vitamins than their fresh counterparts. How can this be? Imagine the journey of that fresh pepper. It was picked while still green to ripen during transport. Then it traveled in a truck, sat in a warehouse, and during all this time, under the influence of light and oxygen, it loses a significant part of its vitamins, especially vitamin C. What happens during freezing? The pepper is picked at its peak ripeness when it has the most nutrients and is subjected to shock freezing within hours. This process almost completely halts the destruction of vitamins. Of course, this does not apply to the freshest vegetables from grandmother's garden. But when comparing with supermarket products, freezing often wins. Point 25. Oh, this is the main demon of modern diets. Carbohydrates are evil. They make you fat. Keto, low carb, paleo, all these diets are built on demonizing carbohydrates. But lumping all carbohydrates together is like blaming all liquids for hangovers, without distinguishing between water and vodka. There are different types of carbohydrates. Simple or fast carbohydrates are sugar, white flour, and sweets. They are instantly absorbed into the bloodstream, causing a rapid spike in energy, followed by a sharp drop. And then there are complex or slow carbohydrates. Grains, whole grain bread, vegetables, legumes. They break down slowly, providing a stable, prolonged feeling of fullness and energy. It is the complex carbohydrates that serve as the primary fuel for our body, and most importantly, for our brain. The brain functions exclusively on glucose. By completely depriving yourself of carbohydrates, you are depriving your brain of nutrition, leading to brain fog, fatigue, and irritability. It's not carbohydrates themselves that make you gain weight, but the excess calories, which are easiest to accumulate from simple carbs like pastries and candies. The 26th myth is the most pleasant one. A glass of red wine a day is good for the heart. This story about the French paradox suggests that French people eat fatty foods but have few heart diseases because they drink wine. Everyone jumped on this idea, as it's the perfect excuse. You're not just drinking, you're treating yourself. Wine does contain the antioxidant resveratrol, which is attributed with all these wonderful properties. But here's the catch. To get a therapeutic dose of resveratrol, you would have to drink not just one glass, but several dozen bottles of wine a day. By that point, your heart might be protected, but your liver would be out of the picture. In reality, the French paradox is explained not so much by wine as by the overall lifestyle. More activity, less stress, and importantly, a Mediterranean diet rich in vegetables, fruits, and olive oil. And alcohol, even in small doses, remains a toxin and a carcinogen, as confirmed by the World Health Organization. So there is no such... The 27th point is not just a myth, it is a dangerous misconception. When you have a cold or flu, you need to take antibiotics to avoid complications. Every fall and winter, millions of people rush to pharmacies for antibiotics. This is like using a cannon to shoot at sparrows, with the sparrows flying away and the cannon destroying your own house. Antibiotics only work on bacteria. They kill bacteria or inhibit their reproduction. Colds and flu are caused by viruses in 99% of cases, and antibiotics do absolutely nothing to viruses. It's like trying to open a wooden door with a car key. You won't recover faster or prevent complications. However, you will kill a bunch of beneficial bacteria in your gut, leading to digestive issues and a weakened immune system. And most alarmingly, you contribute to the rise of antibiotic resistance. Bacteria mutate and become immune to drugs. And when you really need an antibiotic for a serious bacterial infection, like pneumonia, it may simply not work. The 28th myth has been ingrained in our minds since school. Humans have 5 senses: sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. It's all so simple and clear. But in reality, this is a huge oversimplification. Scientists count at least 24 different senses. For example, you have thermoreception, the sense of heat and cold that operates independently of touch. There's nociception, the sense of pain that signals tissue damage. There's equilibrioception, the sense of balance, which is managed by your vestibular apparatus in the inner ear. And my favorite is proprioception. It's the muscle sense that allows you to know where your body parts are in space, even with your eyes closed. Try it right now. Close your eyes and touch the tip of your nose with your index finger. Did you succeed? That's the work of proprioception.
So we are much more complex and sensitive beings than we tend to think. Our brain is constantly processing a huge flow of data from dozens of sensory systems. The 29th myth is a culinary thriller. Monosodium glutamate is a toxic chemical that causes headaches and addiction. This myth was born in the 60s and was named Chinese restaurant syndrome. People complained of feeling unwell after eating Asian food. And now, here's the shocking content. Monosodium glutamate is the sodium salt of glutamic acid, one of the most common amino acids in nature. It is found in huge quantities in completely natural products: tomatoes, mushrooms, Parmesan cheese, meat, soy sauce, and even in breast milk. It is responsible for the fifth taste, umami, the taste of protein-rich foods. The stuff sold in packets is produced through the fermentation of starch or sugar beets. There is no difference for our body between natural glutamate from a tomato and chemical glutamate from a packet. Numerous double-blind, placebo-controlled studies have completely debunked its harm. It is simply a flavor enhancer, nothing more. And the 30th myth? The cherry on top of the cake of misconceptions. Sugar makes kids hyperactive. Every parent knows as soon as a child eats a candy or a piece of cake at a birthday party, they start running around like crazy. The connection seems obvious. But in reality, there is none. Scientists have conducted dozens of studies on this topic. In some, children were given drinks with sugar, while in others, with sugar substitutes, and neither the children, no difference in behavior. So where does the myth come from? It's all about the environment. When do kids eat a lot of sweets? At holidays, birthday parties, and when visiting. That is, in situations that are inherently very exciting, with many other children, games, gifts, noise, and disruptions to routine. Of course they will run around. We simply confuse cause and effect. We see a child eat cake and then start acting wild, and our brain makes a false connection. In reality, they would be acting wild even without the cake, simply because it's a celebration around them. We are nearing the finish line. The last 3 nails in the coffin of popular misconceptions. These myths are so fundamental that they seem to be part of reality itself. But we are here to shake that reality a bit. The 31st myth, which makes every grandmother cringe. Don't read in the dark and don't sit close to the TV. You'll go blind. As soon as you opened an interesting book under the blanket with a flashlight, a parental reprimand arrived immediately. So, this is nonsense. Neither reading in low light nor sitting close to the screen can physically harm your eyes or cause nearsightedness. What they can do is cause temporary eye muscle fatigue. Your eyes, like any muscles, strain to focus in uncomfortable conditions. This might lead to headaches, and the image may temporarily blur, but once you rest, everything returns to normal. It's like carrying heavy bags all day. Your arms will get tired, but they won't fall off or become shorter. The myth about television goes back to the 50s, so the only reason not to sit close to the screen is that it's simply uncomfortable. The 30-second exhibit in our cabinet of curiosities is the division of people into right-brained and left-brained. Well, you've definitely... And if you are logical and mathematical, you are left-brained. This idea has become so popular that it's part of pop culture. People are seriously building careers and relationships on this. In reality, it's just as scientifically absurd as horoscopes. Yes, there is lateralization of functions in our brains. For example, In most people, the speech centers are located in the left hemisphere, while facial recognition is more attributed to the right. Both hemispheres are connected by a powerful cable, the corpus callosum, and work in constant tandem. To solve a complex math problem, seemingly a left brain task, you need imagination and unconventional thinking. Hello, right side. And to paint a picture, you need compositional logic and knowledge of perspective. There is no task that exclusively engages one hemisphere. This idea is just a neat and convenient label that sells self-help books effectively, but has nothing to do with real neurobiology. And lastly, the 33rd, slightly gothic fact. After death, a person's hair and nails continue to grow. This creepy image has lodged firmly in the mass consciousness, loved by horror movies. It seems that even after death, some vital force remains in the body. But alas, it is merely an optical illusion caused by physiology. Hair and nail growth requires cell division, mitosis. And for mitosis, energy, glucose, and oxygen are needed. That is, a functioning metabolism. With death, all these processes stop. Instantly. So what happens then? It's all about dehydration. After death, the body loses moisture and the skin begins to dry and contract. The skin on the fingers and head retracts, exposing the part of the nail and hair that was previously hidden under the skin. In the end, it creates a complete illusion that they have grown, but in reality, they have just— Well, the operation of removing the nonsense seems to have been successful. We have scalpeled through 36 myths that have been pushed on us for years by marketers, trainers, grandmothers, and even old-school doctors. What's the conclusion from all this? Our body is an incredibly complex and intelligent system that is much smarter than most of the advice found on the internet. And the world around us is a giant market where everyone tries to sell us fear and then a magical remedy for it. Don't believe in simple solutions. Don't believe in miracle pills and magical diets. Stop consuming the informational fast food that is being shoved down our throats. Start thinking for yourself. This is perhaps the most important and completely free biohacking of all. This was Max. Stay healthy and skeptical.